Hello, hello. Happy Thursday. Whew. Happy Thursday. I hello. Hello, Bonnie. How are you? Hello. Happy Thursday. Hi, Robin. How are you? Happy Thursday to you. And hello to everybody else that is popping in. I'm good. You know me, it's Thursday night and I'm finished for my week. And that always feels really good. I freaked out for a minute because I thought, is today Thursday? This week went by so fast. Like, so fast. And I'm happy for that. I actually have a weekend with no plans, and all day long I've been thinking about calling a friend and saying, do you want to go adventure on Saturday? There's this little town up outside of Lancaster, a little bit north of Lancaster, PA, that's super cute. And I haven't been there in probably 20 years. And I'm very interested in going. But this is like the first weekend in so long that I haven't had any commitments. And so I am restraining from making any plans. Like, my instinct says make plans, but I'm pretty sure that on Saturday morning, if I make plans on Saturday morning, I'm going to wake up going, why did I make plans? So I've been restraining myself. And Bonnie, pour yourself a glass of wine, girlfriend, and hang with me for a little bit. I mean, that invitation is open to everybody, of course. And if you're new here and you don't know me, my name is Leslyn, and I'm a therapist by day. And I come into my lives as a way of just kind of giving back. So if you have a question, if there's some way you think, some piece of advice that you need or a problem that you have, and I can give you kind of Dear Abby advice, I'm super happy to do that. Otherwise, I just kind of hang out here and talk. Before we get started, if anybody wants an intention, I'm happy to draw an intention for you today. Mine for today is committing to continuous self-reflection and self-awareness. And it's so interesting to me because I had a situation come up this week where I really had to ask myself and ponder, like truly ponder, what was my role here? What was my part in this chaos? And I definitely had a part. And you know, it's interesting because there's absolutely a part of me that is unwilling to engage in confrontation. And in this particular case, I was working with somebody over the course of several years, and occasionally interacting with her was challenging. And so I just decided that I wasn't going to spend my energy challenging this person or getting into and engaging in challenge with this person. But ultimately, that did not serve well. And I think it's important for me to look at that. And this card today was like committing really committing to that continuous self-reflection. We tend to think that growing, that at some point we're going to be finished, you know? At least I did. And so many of the people I've talked to often say, geez, how many more years do I have to go through this? But I don't know. I think that as long as we're living, there's something we can learn about ourselves and about our position in the world. And so the card was really a good reminder to be able to employ that. I also think it tends to keep us more humble if we remember that we're not done. We're not finished. Done's not the right word. If we're not finished, we're never finished. So if anybody else needs or wants a card, please let me know. I have 6 decks left, by the way. I also have affirmation cards. I really haven't talked about those, but I do have decks of affirmation cards that are literally just sitting here. If you want those for Christmas, I'll sell those for $15. You'll take a card, Bonnie? All right, ready? Okay, this is for Bonnie. All right, here we go. This is your card. Today, I will value my worth and not settle for less than I deserve. Hello, Janie. How are you? Look at that. No more settling. I hope that is a timely card for you, Bonnie. Yay. No more settling. Good. Good. You were thinking about me. Thanks, Janie. I hope it was good thoughts. Hi, Corey. How are you? Yay. I was just saying I have 6 decks left. That's it. So if you want them, let me know. And Jeannie, I've been here. Where have you been? You know, oh, and look what else came in. I now have all the author copies of this. And Janie, you can go to Etsy. There's a link on my link tree. Right, if you just go to my bio and then my link tree is there. There's a link on my ink tree to my Etsy shop. And if you order out my Etsy shop, it'll give me all the mailing information and then I'll ship them out from here. And just an FYI, they come in this cute little bag with a little rose quartz heart. And so anyway, what's really interesting, and I know a couple of people emailed me about autographed copies. And if you didn't know, okay, so this is my new book. It's called Inner Echoes. It's 365 days of introspection. And it's really 365 questions that to ask yourself to get to know yourself better. Okay? What's really interesting is I ordered this one off of Amazon right when it got approved because it's way faster than ordering a proof. I literally got it in 48 hours, but these took 3 weeks, I think, to almost 3 weeks. But these came in with a shiny cover, and this has a matte cover, and I don't remember making that distinction, but they're a little bit different. I kind of think I like the shiny cover. Anyway, I have these now. So if you want to order them directly from me, you can. You can order them on Amazon. I think they should also be available on Barnes & Noble and every place else. I got approved at Ingram Sparks. I approved the proof yesterday. So I don't know how long it takes from Ingram Sparks to acknowledge that it can be there. But if you have any questions, you can actually, if you have like an independent bookstore that you want to order from, you can go to Amazon, get the ISBN number, take that to your indie bookstore, and they can order it. But you can also buy it directly from me, and if you do, I will sign it. I'll autograph it and mail it out to you, free shipping, same price, $20. So, and you can just shoot me an email, ThisIsLeslyn@gmail.com. Everywhere on the internet, you can find me at ThisIsLeslyn. It's just pretty simple. So you can email me through my work. You can email me through my coaching website. You can email me directly at Gmail. I'm pretty easy to get a hold of. So what else? Today, I spent a ridiculous amount of time, but for those of you who know me, you know that there's a part of me that has to be creative. And you may also know that I am getting ready in 2024 to introduce a whole bunch of online e-courses. Most of them will be asynchronous, like you just go online at your leisure and get them. I find that honestly that works better. They're a lot less expensive to do that way for you, and it doesn't require as much of an ongoing time resource for me, which is a big part of what I'm trying to accomplish. I think because so many people, and if you haven't taken the survey, please consider doing that for me. That's also in my link tree. A lot of people have said they want live classes, and so I will offer, my thought is to do one live class a quarter, but everything else are going to be micro classes, and a micro classes is really just a series of like 3 to 5 minute lessons. There will be a series of them, and there'll be something that you literally can do while you're getting ready in the morning. You can listen to it. Much of it will be a lot of the things that you've heard me talk about, because these are the things that come up all the time. If you've been around a while, you might remember that summer before last, I had an intern work with me. And bless her heart, she edited all my lives that summer. Those are over on YouTube now. But one of the things that she did was she kind of pulled out all of the questions that people asked me and categorized them. Like, the work that she did was phenomenal. So I went back to that document and I'm categorizing those, and I'm pulling together classes that fit into the categories. So far, I'll tell you what people are telling me they want. The benefit of sitting here at the computer is that I have access to all this information. Okay. Whoops. And so the iPad is like in front of the computer, so hold on. I'll move you over here a little bit. And, ooh, I have an extra response. Thank you. I had a suspicion somebody just went in. And again, I have to trade glasses. Okay. So essentially, people are telling me that the responses, or the topics that they want, are dealing with anxiety, which is always a big thing. Developing coping skills for everyday problems, which is, again, that's probably 90% of my job. Self-awareness, that class is coming probably first, because you know it's my passion. Setting better boundaries. How many times do I talk about that? So living a life of acceptance. I talk about that. And then self-compassion. Personal growth plan. That interests me. Yay, Jeannie. It really is interesting to me that so many people are wondering about a personal growth plan. And after the retreat, once people come to the retreat, I typically offer a personal growth plan, or I at least talk about how to develop a personal growth plan at the end of the retreat. By the way, that marketing letter went out today. If you got a letter for the retreat and you are a subscriber of mine, don't forget you get 10% off of the retreat. So I didn't put that in the letter, but I wanted to make sure that the couple of you who have said that you're going to try to come, that you know you get 10% off of whatever price is listed. And the retreat, for all those of you who are listening, is March 14th through 17th. It's St. Patrick's Day weekend. Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday night in Oxford, Pennsylvania, which is meaningless because the estate or the property where we have the retreat, it's just beautiful. It's relaxing and calming. There's a pond, but it's a working retreat, so there's not that much rest time. We take breaks, but generally people are kind of congregating during the breaks. Nobody goes and takes a nap, which I'm not surprised about. But, I put like big 1.5-hour breaks because I know it can be overwhelming. And initially I was hoping or thinking that people would want to separate out, go sit by the pond, journal, go take a little nap. But do they do that? No, they sit down and they talk, which is great. I mean, that's why really from each of the retreats this year, people left saying they had friends for life because they went through this thing together. So anyway, that letter went out today. And if you need a discount code and you are one of my subscribers, don't hesitate to email me and ask me for that code. What was I talking about? Oh, classes. So anyway, I think I started to tell you that I made a commercial today. My first full experience with producing a video in Canva. Of course, I do them in TikTok all the time. But the thing is, one of my daughters is a graphic designer. Another daughter is a professional video editor. But they're all so busy that, especially right now, they're all so busy that I just, typically when I want something, I want it right now. And so I took the extra time I had today and created this commercial. So I'll probably start pre-registrations maybe around the middle of December. The first class is about self-awareness, and I can give you an idea of what that's going to look like. If I can, I thought I had the outline just up right here. Maybe, oh, it's on a different. I have 2 Google accounts, email accounts, and I have one for my counseling practice and one for everything else, for all of the other things that I do. And I'm not very good about keeping them separate. All right, so the name of the class is going to be called The Journey to Authentic Living, Unveiling Your True Self. It's going to be understanding what authenticity is, how it relates to self-awareness, vulnerability, how you cultivate authenticity, how you align your actions and values, which requires self-awareness, overcoming the barriers to authenticity. And keep in mind that, and I say this in the retreat a lot, authenticity isn't possible without self-awareness, right? If you don't know yourself, how can you be authentic to yourself? They go hand in hand. And so this class on authenticity or achieving authenticity has a big focus on self-awareness. And there will be, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 roughly 5-minute modules. So you could easily do it in a day. You could do it over the course of a couple of weeks, but it's going to be a minimum of 14 modules. I may break a couple of these up because I'm not sure I can do a whole module in 5 minutes, 5 to 7 minutes. But I did decide to make them micro learning modules. So there you go. That's happening. Let's see, what else did happen this week? I can't think of anything. Somebody asked a question that I thought was good. I posted a video about denial, and somebody asked a question which I probably will post tomorrow. If you know that you're feeling something, but you make a conscious decision not to feel it, is that denial? And the answer to that question is no, it's avoidance. Because I hear in that question that you're not denying the feeling. You recognize it, you know it's there. But your choice is not to address it. So that's avoidance. And my motto is to always acknowledge your feelings. Remember, feelings don't necessarily tell us the truth. We're not acknowledging that this feeling is true by acknowledging the feeling. We're acknowledging that it exists. And when you acknowledge that it exists and you attempt to have some level of compassion for its presence, that's all it wants, right? That's all your subconscious wants, is to be seen a little bit, right? I mean, that's what your consciousness wants. Why wouldn't your subconscious want that too? And I think when we acknowledge our feelings, we're acknowledging to our inner self this seeing. So, that being said, I'm excited about this class. I think it's going to be exactly fit right into what people want, and this is what I'm working on. All of these different ways for you to get what's in here. It's kind of my goal, just to share what's up here. And yeah, before I can't remember any of it. Do you guys have any questions for me tonight? It's funny, I was thinking earlier today, my voice sounds so much better, but tonight it's feeling kind of strained. So it'll be good for me not to do anything this weekend. Although really in the morning it feels great. And if I can just remember to keep my projection where it needs to be, I think it'll be fine. Let's see, do you guys have any topics you want me to talk about tonight, even if it's not a specific question? Do you have any topics you want me to try to talk about? I could always pick a question in the book. I'll take a random question. Let's see. Hi, Stace. How are you? Can they what? Can a narcissist change? You know, it's interesting. I had this conversation yesterday morning with someone about cluster B personality disorders in general. I think the short answer, very simply, is yes, they can. But like any change, it has to be intrinsically motivated. It has to come from inside. And the thing about people who have cluster B personality disorders is that they often fail to take personal responsibility, and they don't acknowledge their part in something, right? And so while there are cases and published cases and books written about people with cluster Bs that do change, it's the exception rather than the rule, unfortunately, at least in my experience. And, you know, anytime I've made a video about this, I get a whole bunch of slack from people, especially with borderline personality disorder, that say, that's not fair. There's a man on TikTok, or at least there was, I haven't seen him in a long time, who is a recovering narcissist. And he talks about narcissism. He talks about it from the perspective that he sees it and he's willing to change. You know, I'm not sure, Bonnie, if I even know, if I would even, I think I would recognize him. Self-aware narc, maybe that's it, yeah. So to that extent, because I have never met him, we also have to allow for the possibility that everything he says is part of the narcissism, right? I don't know him, so I don't know that. But it's also the exact kind of thing a narcissist would do for clout. So I'm not saying, and I want to make it really clear, I am not accusing him of that. I don't know him. I've never talked to him. I haven't met him. So I cannot determine that. But it is behavior that one would easily ascribe to someone who's a classic or a true narcissist. So yeah, the short answer is sure, people can change, but it has to be intrinsically motivated. There has to be a desire. In order for someone to change, they have to see that there's a problem that needs to be addressed. And you know, I'm sure you've heard that one of the ways to tell whether or not somebody is a narcissist, and this is tongue-in-cheek, it's not legit, is to ask them if they're a narcissist. And if they said, oh my gosh, maybe, they're not. Because the narcissist is going to say, no, I'm not a narcissist, very adamantly. But somebody who's not a narcissist is going to say, oh, I don't know, maybe, because they're willing to consider that as a possibility. That's not cluster B. Anytime, many times, when you suggest to somebody with any of the cluster B personality disorders that they have a disorder, they're going to tell you they don't, or that they were wrongly accused or wrongly diagnosed. As a matter of fact, oftentimes, people with cluster B PDs don't stay in therapy. So it's a very, very loose litmus test in conversation with somebody. So any of you who are dating and you get a little stinking feeling, your little spider senses go up, you might ask them, has anybody ever thought you were a narcissist, and see what their reaction is. If they blame, no, well, my ex-wife used to call me a narcissist all the time, but she was the narcissist. Don't go out with them again. Seriously, do not go out with them again. It's so classic that it's funny sometimes. And I am totally generalizing just so that make sure that you know. That's the family you grew up in. Oh no, Robin. I'm sorry. I was going to read a question. I took my finger out of the page, so I guess I have to pick a different question. And that's too bad, because I remember thinking, oh, that's a good question. All right. How do your daily actions reflect your core values? Bonnie, it is the hardest thing to do. Hello, Stell. Thank you so much for that share. And to all of you who shares. I got off the other day, I think it was Monday, I got off my live, and Janie, you have a wonderful evening, and thank you. Hope you love your cards. I got off my live the other night, and there were like 5,000 likes. You guys are rock stars in my lives. Thank you. How do your daily actions reflect your core values? One of the things that we do at the retreat is we identify our core values through assessment. And we'll really talk about them. And then we create mission statements. Hi, Carol, how are you? We create mission statements that focus on utilizing those core values. And it's a pretty powerful moment in the retreat. Because we have a tendency, often just through the course of how life unfolds and necessity, we have a tendency to either ignore or distance ourselves, hello Moki, from core values. And when it comes to authenticity, I'm a firm believer that we can't be authentic unless we are engaged in the values that exist at our core. Obviously not every single one, but I think it's very, very important to identify that, and then identify how am I living in alignment with my core values, right? Earlier this week, somebody suggested that I lie. And I don't mean just a fudge or a little white lie, but essentially it was in their best interest if I was willing to just out and out lie. And I said no. And that created a lot of feelings in this other person. And I understand why. I can appreciate where the position that they were coming from. But at the end of the day, I live with myself. I look at myself in the mirror. And one of the things that happened in my relationship with a narcissist is that slowly but surely over time, my values eroded to the point where my day-to-day life was very inconsistent with the things that I valued. And you know, it's really easy to sit back and judge that, even in retrospect, right? To the self-judgment of that's kind of at the core of narcissistic abuse, is this wearing down the supply, meaning me. Thanks, hi Bella. The wearing down of the supply until they conform to the parameters, whatever it is, of the narcissist. And there are so many reasons why somebody allows that to happen. Hi 143, how are you? Are you asking a question about talking about the connection between narcissism and gaslighting? Or that is the connection? I mean, okay. I'll talk, let me finish my thought and then I'll go to that. It's this diminishing that happens often happens so yes, there definitely is, and I will talk about that. That diminishing that happens is so steady and slow. It's one of the reasons that the supply tends to think, am I crazy? Right? I must be crazy. Like what's happening? Now, a lot of that is because of the gaslighting, which I'll dive into a little bit further. But at the end of the day, for me, after 15 years, I sat back and thought, holy shit, where did I go? Where is the woman I used to be? And so I re-identified what my values were, and I started to realign my life to those values. And of course, those aren't good conditions for the narcissist, because if you're living your values, you probably can't be with the narcissist. And so those relationships stop working. Not that they ever worked in a healthy way, but they stop working if the supply starts to realign with their values. So values are really critical, right? And I promised myself that I would never compromise my values again to please someone else. And I have to tell you, I was this close to giving in, because the panic in this other person, the anxiety in this other person was so intense. My people pleasing started to take over, and I thought, what's it really good? I mean, come on, Les. And I'm like, no, I'm not doing it. I'm not going to do that. I'm just not. No. And what that person doesn't really know is that for me, that ask was bigger than they could have imagined because it required me to misalign my values. And I'm just not doing it. So, with that in mind, the connection between narcissism and gaslighting. And so let's define gaslighting. Gaslighting is altering the reality of a situation in such a way that it I probably should look up exactly what it is, but I'm going to say in such a way that it minimizes one perspective and reinforces a more manipulative perspective. Does that make sense? So if I want something from you, I'm going to create a reality or a story about how things are that serve me and what I want. And I'm going to convince you that my reality is also the way it is. And whatever your perception is, it's wrong. You're not seeing this correctly. My reality, the one that serves me, the one that I've made up as the one that I've made up to be beneficial to me, that's the only right answer. That's what's real. That's what's true. To the extent that if you have a blue shirt on and you say, do you like this color blue? I might say, that's not blue. It's gray. And you're like, no, it's blue. And I'm going to say, you're crazy. It's gray. Like, what are you looking at? What's wrong with your eyes? That's gray. Look, I might pick up something that's gray and say, look, that's the same color. And the thing about narcissism, keep in mind, narcissists are generally dynamic, charismatic, powerful, I'll say salesy or convincing, right? They tend to be all of those things. And especially if this person is more successful, better educated, more powerful, you may tend to believe them over the things that you believe yourself. And Corey, I think the short answer to that is, I'm going to say probably, but I doubt that they're going to admit that, right? I mean, I just said that litmus test is to ask somebody if they think they're a narcissist. Now, I've had several people say to me through the years, tongue in cheek, yeah, I saw a therapist once, she thought I was a narcissist. She didn't know what she was talking about. Other people have said, I've been accused of being a narcissist my whole life. Well, look at me, I'm successful, right? You're a narcissist. So I don't know if that's a resolute no or resolute yes. I would suspect, especially with the emphasis over the last few years and the examples in the public that are so overt about narcissism. And what's really interesting is there are so many narcissists right now that are out there going, I don't do that. I'm not a narcissist. And so they take a look at like the most glaring example of narcissism that exists. And they're like, I don't do that. I'm not a narcissist. But one is pathological. One can be covert. It's also true that there are people who don't meet the qualifications of narcissistic personality disorder, but have a lot of narcissistic traits. Those people aren't necessarily narcissists, but they are considered narcissistic. Those are two different words. Narcissist, he's a narcissist, he's narcissistic. Two completely different meanings. Lots of the same behaviors. But I would say the people that are narcissistic might have a better sense that they have those traits than people who are truly narcissists, if that makes sense. Yeah, nothing really fixes it. So anyway, I hope that talking about values was helpful to you. If you get this, there's a couple of different ways to use it, and I spell it out in here. Number one, read the questions, ponder, allow yourself to think. And so many people, Bonnie, to answer your questions, they certainly can. Now, I know I'm switching gears again here, but I want to talk about narcissism and empathy. A true narcissist probably is not going to demonstrate empathy. But some of them do mask empathy quite well. So listen to that carefully. When you have a personality or a behavioral disorder, right? And let's say you're 17 and you've been abandoned repeatedly and you have all these emotional wounds, and narcissism is starting to develop because it typically develops in late adolescence. And you're just getting rejected over and over again because you're kind of an asshole. What you'll do is you'll start to watch other people and you'll mimic empathy. And so you mask. That's what love bombing really is, right? It's this display, think peacock feathers. It's a display that has been learned as to attract. And the only reason they really learned it is because they had to be creative about how to attract. Because if they didn't do those things, they're just assholes, typically. So love bombing is a lot like a peacock spreading his feathers. And I would say that any kind of empathetic reaction in the course of love bombing, it almost always comes in the course of love bombing, in true narcissism. It's masked. I can hardly say that word. It's masked, right? They saw it, they mimicked it through the mask, and then they drop it. They take the mask off once they've acquired this supply. Do OCD people tend to be narcissists? I don't know if there's a direct correlation. What I do know is that most cluster Bs have comorbidities, or most people who have a cluster B diagnosis also have another diagnosis. So maybe, I just don't know a straight answer to that question. I'm trying to think of the people that I've worked with either OCD or narcissism, and it's not one-on-one. But I can see that. Hello, Ellen. Thanks for asking a question and welcome. I count, by the way, I count on my subs to remember names for me, because Ellen, if you're not here and reminding me that your name is Ellen, if you're not here frequently and you're not reminding me and your username doesn't tell me, I'm going to forget. So please don't be insulted that I forget. I can't even look at the comments and remember what my train of thought is. So it's not you, I promise. That's a really interesting question, though. Off the top of my head, I don't know that they're directly correlated, but definitely comorbidities exist with cluster Bs. Not a problem. What I was talking about, I want to finish that, because a couple of people have said to me after they ordered the book, they're like, Leslyn, there's no way I'm going to do this in a year. And I said, okay, don't do it in a year, but try to do one question a week. Like, the entire reason I wrote this book and I put it out for sale, as imperfect as it is, the whole reason was because I strongly believe in the power of self-awareness. And in my work, over and over and over again, I run into people who don't know the answers to these questions. And some of them are easy, but others of them, like, what are my core values? How many people have really thought about what are my core values and how do they show up in my day-to-day life? That's an important question if your goal is to live authentically. And if your goal isn't, cool, Bonnie. If your goal isn't to live authentically, and Bonnie, I'll send them to you. Just let me know how many you want. Then what is your goal? Like, why bother if you're not going to try to live authentically? I mean, we could have so many therapy sessions about that question. So please don't be insulted if you feel something when I ask that question. Hello, Bree. Well, I can sign them that way if that makes a difference. And technically I make more money if you get them from me, because Amazon won't have to take their cut. And I have 40 books, so you'll be good. Okay. I think that's kind of fun. You know, so I just picture someday, 50 years from now, right? Somebody's going to pull this book off the bookshelf in your house, and they're packing up your stuff because you're long gone. And they're going to be like, I wonder who this Leslyn chick was. She even signed it. My gosh, did Bonnie collect first editions? Like, who's this Leslyn chick? And they're gonna turn to their watch and they're gonna be like, hey Google, or whatever the thing is, who's this chick, Leslyn? And they're gonna be, oh, she was a therapist who threw spaghetti against the wall and never got anything to stick. Oh man. Maybe that won't be true. Maybe, I just think it's kind of funny. Oh man. Hello Mama Kay, how are you? I love saying that. Hey, do you guys want to ask my GPT a question tonight? I know, I'm a funny girl. Oh, it sticks. Thanks, Moki. Thank you so much. For those of you who weren't here on Monday night, because I just have to have a finger in everything, and I have 10 of them, so I have like 10 things going on. When OpenAI came out last week and said we could create our own GPTs, I created one, and I created a mom GPT. So if you have any interest in asking it or her a question, let's see how she does. I played with her. It doesn't sound very good. I played with it a little bit at the beginning of the week. Sometimes I'll just sit here with my coffee, and this is one of the reasons I can't date, because I'm just too invested in all these things I do. Ooh, tips when feeling overwhelmed. Excellent. I guess I closed it. Let me open it again. Open. Fingers in the right keys, Leslyn. That's not what I want. Here we go. Everything helps. Mom vibe. Here's my GPT mom vibe. All right. So it's, what do I do when I feel overwhelmed? Okay, let's see what she says. She's not doing a good job on the empathy. As a matter of fact, I would tell you, let's see how she does here. Yeah, she's not actually listening to her instructions, because all of a sudden she's giving me like 10 tips, and I told her to limit that to 5. So, mom vibe, yep, she didn't do a very good job. So Bella, she says, of course, being overwhelmed is challenging. Make sure you take a moment to pause. By the way, it's still good advice. Take a moment to pause. Breathe. I'm going to tell you, breathe. When you feel overwhelmed, that's often your body's way of saying, slow down. At least breathe. Try to remember, you guys, that your body gives you information. And the feeling of being overwhelmed tells you there is far too much cortisol streaming through your blood. It's really important to bring yourself back to a baseline. And you can do that through breath. Okay? Identify the cause. What is it? What was the straw? What was the icing on the cake? What was that thing that tipped me over? break the task into smaller steps. And so, one of the suggestions I gave to a client tonight who has very strong perfectionistic tendencies, she overthinks, and she's a student, and she's overwhelmed. And so I said, what if you gave yourself permission for the next 17 weeks to just let it be good enough? Right? Just do the minimum. Just for the next 17 weeks, because what you're doing right now really is only to serve an end goal. It's not ever going to make a huge difference except for this end goal. So if what you're doing is not going to change the course of your life, let the minimum be good enough, please. Your life is not going to be altered if your house doesn't get clean, or your laundry doesn't get folded, or your kids go to school without a brush going through their hair. It's not going to alter the course of your life. Hey, Bree. Good. Congratulations. I'm glad you stopped in. Do you hear me? It's not going to alter the course of your life. So when you break that task into smaller steps, you might also break that task into a minimum thing. By the way, I remember now there was a question that I wanted to talk about. I'll come back to it. Prioritize and delegate, set boundaries, practice self-compassion. I cannot tell you. Riley Nicole, hello. I cannot tell you how important self-compassion is. Seek support, focus on the present, okay? All of those things. All right. Mama Kay, how do you explain the persistent mental load of a mom to your children? You can't. You can't. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. My daughter-in-law and I have this conversation all the time. She's like, Mom, why didn't you tell me? Why doesn't anybody tell you how hard this is? And I said, sweetheart, we do tell you, but nobody listens. I mean, it's that simple. And that's on your adult children. Your small children, they don't have the capacity to contextualize hanging up their freaking towel, let alone what it means for you to have to do 4 loads of laundry every other day. They just don't. And so I'm really, really sorry to tell you that you can't. It's you just can't. She's such a perfectionist. You can't. Honest to God, I said this tonight to another client. This single hardest thing I think I've done as the mother to adult children is to remind myself, to teach myself, remind myself, convince myself, and then remind myself that they don't know what they don't know, and that I have to be okay with that. That I have to accept they don't know what they don't know, You know, when my daughter-in-law had the first baby, and it's literally like every meme on Instagram. She had the first baby and she's like, Mom, don't turn the TV on when you have him. He doesn't need to be watching TV. Okay. I might have turned Little Baby Bum on, but turned like the picture off. Just so Little Baby Bum was playing in the background, because I think there's value to kids hearing kids' music. I certainly didn't plop him in front of the TV, but I did have Little Baby Bum on because they have those goofy songs. But they're good songs, right? They're rhythmic, they're generally speaking, yeah, all of that. Then the second kid came along during the pandemic, and she was a little bit more needy right off the get-go, and so the TV went on for the first one. And he was 3, he loved Disney Cars. And they played those 3 Disney Cars movies ad nauseum. And then Mama got pregnant accidentally and was pretty sick with a 8-month-old. And so the tablets came out. And now when son travels, the tablets are at the dinner table. This is a mother who said to me, Mom, don't let him watch TV. Don't put the TV on. So it's just, you don't know what you don't know. Of course, that ideal is what we all wanted. But if you've been through it, you know that 5 minutes of them watching Teletubbies or some stupid shit allows you to poop. And eventually pooping becomes the priority, right? It allows you to get a shower. It allows you to function as a human being for 30 minutes because you've got 3 little ones. So you can't tell anybody that. Oh no, they filtered a comment. So anyway, I wish there was some other explanation. And while that's certainly not everybody's experience, I believe it is the common experience because we all talked about it, right? Me and my mom friends, my daughter-in-law and her mom friends, my friends that I have now when we talk about our adult children and their children. So I would tell you that just like the answer to be overwhelmed, like the mental load, every mom understands eventually what the mental load is. They just think they can handle it. Every new mom thinks, what's the big deal? It'll be interesting to see what happens with, and by the way, so I was going to say it'll be interesting to see what happens with my daughters versus my daughter-in-law. My daughter-in-law never babysat. She never really had exposure to kids. And then she had 3 kids, boom, boom, boom. And so her experience as a mom is probably going to be different than the experience of the other two of my girls. Both were nannies. So they have very different ideas. And sometimes they hear my daughter-in-law talk and they're super judgy because they're like, what's the big deal? But these are people who don't have their own children yet. And there's a huge difference between a classroom of 6-year-olds, a nanny, being a nanny where you walk away and then you're the one up every 2 hours while these kids are puking, taking turns puking and changing sheets and trying to disinfect the house and still get them out the door, or still perform some kind of work and make sure that there's some kind of food on the table, and doing all the laundry from all that puking, and remembering that Billy has a birthday party and yet ordering something from Amazon, all at the same time. And then your husband wants sex too, right? Yeah. Can anger make somebody mean as a complete out of character response? 100%. Yes. But I would tell you that under that anger is some other emotion. Pain does funny things to people. Pain is a lot like food poisoning, right? Normally the healthiest person, and then all of a sudden you're up all night puking. You appreciate my humor. Thanks, Bella. Yes, I mean, the short answer, Moki, is 100%. And I would, so that's why I'm saying, what's underneath the anger? If it's a really deep sense of hurt, it can be pretty ugly. We all have the capacity to be ugly, right? I mean, they say that the only difference between us and our animal friends is that when we get hurt, we have the capacity for discernment. But the capacity for discernment is very different than the skill of discernment. And if you're not skilled at discernment, then you're going to react from the pain the same way that an animal reacts from pain. And that's by biting, defending, protecting, all of those things. So, yes. You guys asked some fun questions tonight, and I appreciate you. I'm going to head out and get myself, you're welcome. I'm going to get myself a throat lozenge before I go to bed, and keep trying to take care of my voice. At least it's getting better week by week. I haven't had nearly as much stuff. So thank you. I hope you guys have a great weekend. I will be here Monday night. Of course, I won't be here next Thursday, but we'll cover that on Monday. But I will be here Monday. And don't forget, it is so helpful to me if you come with a question. And you're very well. You guys all have a great weekend. Thanks for hanging out with me. Love you guys. Enjoy.